Welcome aboard, trainers! I'm Professor Bodhi, and today is all about Eevee.
Professor, what makes Eevee so special?
Well, Toasty, Eevee's genetic disposition has made them entirely adaptable to their environments, leading to so many wonderful and diverse evolutions. This Pokemon could teach us a lot about evolution as a whole, and I think today's case might explain less about how far they've come as a species, but how far they'll evolve into the future. To demonstrate the range of this Pokemon, let's take a look at a previously revealed Eevee paradox from the past.
Paradox of the past. Primal Constant. The official Pokemon.
This ancient predator existed, well, millennia ago, and this is the first form of Eevee as we knew it in the wild. They were an apex predator, fast and stronger than anything around it by far. Its mane in this form is wild, quite unkempt, and more than likely grew out to make sure their own fangs wouldn't pierce themselves. What we can presume about this form of Eevee is that it sat on its throne as the apex predator of its niche for a long time, forcing all the Pokemon around them to evolve for their own survival. Whether the surrounding prey developed the ability to escape its clutches or fight back, Millenniv was ousted from its ecosystem and had to relocate to survive. The rest is, of course, history, and we have our beautiful evolutions in the modern day as a result. Okay, so then we've seen Eevee in the past. We have our evolutions in our present. But what of the future? Let's take a look at today's cases for a new generation of evolution. Finding both sides of the coin, past and future, has been a rare occurrence in Area Zero. Currently, we know only of the two sides of Donphan, Volcarona, and presumably of Cyclozar and Koraidon and Miraidon. Today, that changes with this description of a future Eevee, one that hasn't given us too much trouble to catch, but I think it's imperative that we get you one for yourself, trainer. A future Paradox evolution hasn't been documented, but if there's one Pokemon that could do it, it's gotta be Eevee, right? Let's get all of you an Eevee and let's see if we can unlock the secrets of the future.
Paradox of the future.
Alloy Ally, jeez, try saying that name 10 times in a row. Trainer, have you been able to evolve your Alloy Ally yet? No? Yeah, no luck on my end either. Still, I've been having a blast with my new little friend here. Between the built-in minigames it comes with, and leveling it up by teaching it commands like a video game, this version of Eevee was developed for a new generation of trainers in mind. Kids who would never get to meet the organic Pokemon we know of today, although I guess the synthetic fiber for the collar and tail at least juxtaposes against its sleek chassis. All this begs the question, what happened in the future that even Eevee, perhaps the most adaptable Pokemon of them all, dwindled in number to the point that a doll-like version was the only option to continue its lineage? You know, I really wanted to see this thing evolve, but after trying the usual stones and a slew of items, I've come to realize I love this little guy the way he is. Despite being a simple yet highly technical machine. Hold on, I gotta try something.
Paradox evolution. Alloy Arc.
You know, I hate to admit it, but I would have been disappointed if the little guy couldn't evolve. But like I surmised, if there was one Pokemon that could break free of the mold for evolution, Alloy Arc proves it's always what's inside that matters the most. We'll update the dex in our wrap-up later in the video with its evolution method, but in the meantime, early tests of its capabilities are impressive to say the least. Unsurprisingly, its form is relatively simple and no frills, and might be the mechified form of a normal type evolution, something that we don't have in the modern day. While it doesn't seem capable of transforming to any type of evolution, which is what I think a lot of people might expect, it still carries the capability of its diverse ancestors. This Pokemon focuses on its capabilities as determined by the move it uses, which may be tethered to a unique ability we are currently studying. For what seems to be quite a basic upgrade, this Pokemon is anything but. Okay, now, well, I guess you just have to see it to believe it. Professor Turo was out in his research station, monitoring a new batch of paradoxes when he bolted out of the building to rescue a child from certain doom from a roaring moon. To his surprise, the child just straight up swung at the Pokemon. I know what you're thinking, that's just illegal, but get this. It was no child at all. Humanoid Pokemon are nothing new. In fact, ancient text alleges that Pokemon and human were once one and the same. I know, this all sounds insane, but let's just get down to the crater to retrieve the paradox. They're waiting to be picked up from Professors Sada and Turo, who have kinda just been babysitting them.
Paradox of the future. Chroma Cheer.
Yeah, I know. Chroma Cheer is not believed to be an evolution to Alloy Arc. I have reason to believe that Alloy Ally may have missed the mark for Eevee fans and eventually scrapped for its lack of personality, so designers must have auto-corrected to the other side of the spectrum and went all out for this one. In the cases of every future paradox we've caught thus far, we've been able to discern the reason for their creation. They of course fill the niche left behind by a Pokemon led to extinction, but we've seen future paradoxes that are retrofitted to protect the environment, develop food for an ailing population, and the worst of them all, mons that are built to be weapons. So then, what in the good Lord Arceus' name was this Pokemon created for? I think I have an answer. Utilizing its ribbon and playful look and persona, this Pokemon was developed to be an emotional support mascot and hero. You have to presume the world where it's from is dark, and this Pokemon offers to all those around them what they need the most in that space: joy and happiness. Area Zero is chock full of incredibly mysterious Pokemon. So as you can imagine, even paradoxes we've caught and identified are still difficult to read in their new habitats. Professor Sada reached out to me when she noticed that the usual fare of creatures in the crater were acting even stranger than normal. The difference in their behavior was like night and day. When she left the lab to investigate, she felt like she was being watched, feeling ill almost immediately and started hallucinating. She's now trapped in the lab with some sort of fever, so we must reach her ASAP to deliver these meds. We don't got all day. At the base of the lab, before we even found our target, we felt the chill that Sada described. When I looked up into the sky, I couldn't make heads or tails if the sun or moon was hanging in the air above me. This was the work of Luna Eclipse, a fitting name in my opinion for a past paradox of, wait for it, both Umbreon and Espeon. Judging by its appearance, I believe that even before its elemental evolutions, this form was the first evolution to Millennivi. The normal type was no longer cutting it for the former apex predator, and as such, this creature retreated into more grotesque and dark tactics. In the race to evolve and regain its status, the dark typing seemed to have unlocked mild psychic ability, something it doesn't have a grasp of entirely, which is what causes the hallucinations, I think. How it administers them is still to be seen, as the psychic type is a studied grasp on forces that this brute doesn't know entirely, but in the meantime, we will certainly be alert.
On Professor's orders, Toasty here to assign the question of the day. Which evolution do you want to see as paradox? Describe them in full for extra credit. Be sure to comment your reply below by end of day. Mini, the buddy Pokemon.
Minevi was manufactured to be a starter Pokemon in the far, far future. Although its design and concept is fairly straightforward, its build quality is sturdy and provides a foolproof experience for even the youngest of trainers. They come equipped with a microphone, speakers, LCD screen for emotive feedback, and a comb to brush its synthetic fur.
Batteries not included. RGB, the protein Pokemon.
Minevi evolves into RGBV, a synthetic Pokemon making use of its ancestors' penchant for adaptability. This Pokemon is entirely defined by its counterplay potential utilizing all 18 types. Its signature ability, Color Picker, is able to add a second typing to its attacks that turn it super effective against a foe, when available. The Pokemon fires an energy beam of that type by artificially replicating it by using infinite energy to synthesize it.
Sentient, the bubbly Pokemon.
A Pokemon built to instill hope and happiness to those around it. Sentient is a powerful ally that deceives villains with its dainty form and bubbly personality. This Pokemon uses its holographic ribbons to ensnare foes and calm them down, preferring not to fight unless given no choice. Otherwise, they send infinite energy to heal the sick and those in need, spreading cheer with dance and positivity.
Fantorigen, the stocking Pokemon.
The first true evolution of the Eevee line millennia ago, Fantoriton utilizes poison it secretes from its spiky mane that then disperses into the air as pheromones to daze weaker prey at range. This Pokemon terrorized its ecosystem with devious tactics and eventually learned to read its prey once it became the apex predator of its niche. From there, the toxins it once dispersed altered its own DNA, unlocking psychic abilities that would eventually split this Pokemon into Umbreon and Espeon.
Registration complete.
Perfect.
Thanks for watching today's episode, trainers. I want to give a shout out to our growing community who helped in so many ways for today's art over at my streams. Don't hesitate to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can join us and get sneak peeks at new content in development. I also want to take this time out to show some massive love to my patrons. Thank you so much for your support. I've been Professor Bogey, aka Mr. Bonnie John.
And I've been Toasty.
Until next time.